Hello and welcome to Talk It Out, where we talk it out. And it's a very special day because this is our premiere episode, our inauguration, okay? So we created this as a safe space where people of opposing viewpoints can have a productive dialogue in a respectful way. Keeping in mind that it isn't just about proving who's right or wrong, it's about listening and being heard, okay? So first, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists this evening. I'll start with my brother, Corey Collier, who's in your screen right there. There he goes. A very close friend of mine, Alex McNeil, who's a budding film director. She's got a master's in American Studies, and she's currently pursuing her PhD in American Studies. My best friend, Emily Corderoni, and her wonderful husband, Mac Corderoni, who's got a PhD in organizational psychology and an MBA, and he currently works in organizational psychology. Okay.
Hello.
So first, I just want to thank you all, me personally, for being here and sharing your insights. Like I said, today is all about having fun, getting your opinion to be heard in a respectful way. So it's like so that we can actually bridge the gap between these two opposing sides. So first, I want to hear about you all and how you're doing during this quarantine and how it's affecting you and how you've been using the time. Anybody can go first.
I'll go.
Okay.
I've been doing great. I love being at home already, so being paid to stay at home is right up my alley.
Right.
I'm with my family, so me and my family have a really good relationship. So we play board games and eat lots of junk food and drink lots of alcohol. So, yeah,
that's surprising that you drink lots of alcohol to me.
Why?
Well, because your mom's a Jehovah's Witness.
She drinks wine.
Really?
Yeah, Christ did too.
I've never, like, our father is a Jehovah's Witness.
He drinks wine too.
I've never seen it.
I seen it in his fridge one time.
Whoa. I've never seen
I don't know why he wants it refrigerated, but
okay.
Was it white?
no,
Right.
it was red.
Oh, that's a choice.
Right.
So, I mean, to be honest, my father always told me, I don't know if he told this to Duryea, but he said there's nothing wrong with drinking, there's a problem with getting drunk.
He did say that, but my issue was I've just never seen it though. You know what I'm saying?
I saw it.
But okay. Anybody else want to go tell me about their quarantine? Emily?
Sure. So for me, when it first started, I was in the middle of a semester. So I was taking a course and I was a teaching assistant for a course. So I had to start doing Zoom classes, both teaching them and taking them. And it was stressful and different. And I'm glad that it's over. And I'm really, really crossing my fingers that the fall semester is going to be normal in person.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How was it for you, your experience going from in the classroom to virtual? Do you feel like, because one of the hardest classes I ever took was an online class. It wasn't virtual like this. It was literally just like they would send our assignments and we just do them. And that was the hardest class I ever took. And I don't know if it was because of the fact that I didn't have that in-person, in-group kind of connection, or if it was a hard-ass class.
Yeah, so a couple things in response to that. So first of all, I definitely think it depends on the person, because I think people like you and me, like who are more extroverted, like need to be around people. But one of the things that they kept telling us, and they being like the administration of my university, was that there's a difference between an online course and a course that has to be moved to be virtual. Because like our courses aren't designed to be online, and the way you design an online course is completely different.
Right.
So it's, I don't want to say it's like apples and oranges, but it's almost like apples and oranges. Okay. Something that's like planned to be online versus something that just sort of has to be thrown online. We weren't prepared for it.
Right. Nobody was. But did
yeah.
you find that it was easier in the end or more difficult?
I mean, it was nice, like not having to go anywhere, but it's very difficult to lead a discussion over Zoom. students just don't, they don't seem to feel as confident or as comfortable speaking up. I mean, I was always able to manage to get something, but there was a noticeable difference from how much they were engaged when they were in the classroom versus when they were in a Zoom classroom. And
That's
I know, huh?
I said that's crazy to me, seeing as how like the younger generation seems more comfortable in this virtual space.
Yeah, honestly, if you asked the students if they felt less comfortable, I don't know that they would say that they did, but their behavior was different.
Okay.
So,
okay. Corey, tell us about your quarantine so far.
Basically, my quarantine is, in a way, relieving. I'm always, I don't know, can we curse on here or what?
Yeah, go ahead. Say what you want to say.
All right, well, usually I'm always balls to the walls, working, licensed in real estate, trying to get that off the ground. Licensed as a barber, professional barber, always at the barber shop. But I really don't want to corner myself into one profession. I'm sort of a jack of all trades, and I have a lot of interest and a lot of experience in many different things. So I mentioned that to say that during my quarantine, I've been learning a lot of home improvement. Um, I'm not really sold out that this is an actual virus. So I'm not afraid to go out and still do things. So I've done 4 projects with this quarantine. I've done a wood floor refinish and polish and stain and gloss. I've done a perlo. Perlo is where you have basically the the look of wood, the fake wood. And I've done 2 other paint jobs inside and outside of a house. And all of that I was learning as I was doing it. And
so you've taken this opportunity to really hone your skill set and make yourself. I think I get what you're saying about not wanting to pigeonhole yourself, because I think we live in a time where nobody really just does one thing anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody does one thing.
Well, so you can't make a living like that these days.
And I think a lot of people don't want to. Think about it. Like, a lot of people want to do something for like 10 years. And then after 10 years, they're like, that was fun, but I don't want to do this anymore. And I think in the past, it was like you had to make a choice and do one thing for your entire life. But it's different now.
Well, not necessarily had to. If you think about it, bro, in the past, you could work for like Ford Company and for 20 years and retire. But now a lot of companies, they're not really giving you that retirement check. Plus, cost of living has went up, but minimum wage hasn't went up.
It has gone up, but I don't think it's gone up. Go ahead, say something, Emily.
I was just gonna say he just like took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I think people these days, they don't feel like they can trust the companies that they work for to be loyal to them, so they're not going to be loyal going back. And by the way, if the minimum wage had raised at the like rate of interest, it'd be like over $20 now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I remember when a soda used to cost 50 cents.
Oh my God. I remember that shit.
Remember when gas was like 89 cents?
Right. But they're asking for you to contribute to the economy at a rate where they're not paying you. But what is a person going to do when they need money? Most people, well, I can only speak for myself, but I would take the job that I needed to provide for my family. But now I'm at the point, the quarantine has helped me has it showed me that I'm an entrepreneur in my heart. So I'm gonna get, I'm not waiting on people to pay me, basically. I'm gonna go get mine legally, clean, and talent doesn't matter. I learned that too with this quarantine.
What do you mean?
If you're willing to bust your behind, you can outdo anybody who's naturally talented at something.
That's true.
That's very true. That's very true.
Who was it? Was it Thomas Edison that said genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration? I think it was him that said that.
But that sounds dope. Okay. And Mac, how has quarantine been for you?
Well, I already worked from home, so to be perfectly honest, it's pretty much the same as it was before. The only thing is, now my wife is home from school and comes in and tries to get my attention more often.
All the time. I know she does. I know how she is.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Thank you.
Right.
Don't encourage her.
For me, is that all you want to say, man?
Yeah, nothing much different.
Yo, Mac is very succinct. So just he's very like, wow, that's the point. For me, quarantine's been awesome. I think the reason I say the word awesome is not it's kind of weird because there's so much sadness going on in the world. But to me, it's been a time for me to kind of like reestablish and reaffirm the relationships with the people that I love, and to kind of take a moment and really appreciate them and try to be better as a man towards the people that I love. So in that way, it's been awesome. It's also like me and Corey, we've had a lot of similar ideas about entrepreneurship and the fact that, he's a hard worker. I'm not gonna say harder worker. He's a hard worker. And I'm one of those like creativity's bursting out of my friggin' pores. So, the fact that we're deciding to like use each other's skills to help each other has been great for us. Like, he definitely motivates me to be better and to do all the things that I've always talked about doing and never just felt like I had the confidence to do it. So that's what it's been for me. It's been a time of just really understanding that it's okay for me to make mistakes, and it's also okay for me to be awesome. I think at one point it was like I felt like it wasn't okay for me. I felt like I was a dick for being awesome, and I felt like I had to always hold my head down because I was good at things. And now it's just like, if I'm awesome at that, I'm awesome at that. If I'm not, I'm not. It's okay.
I remember that.
You remember what?
You feeling like you needed to like dim yourself to like.
You're a star. You're a star.
Yeah.
And I really did feel that way. Like and this is just like anybody out there who sees someone who's talented, don't go up to that talented person and make them feel like they're cocky because they know that they're talented. There's a difference between a talented person knowing they're talented and a cocky ass motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. And sometimes you could take that talented person and make them and like add an insecurity there that doesn't need to be there. So just be careful. I'm going to add this. There's this TV show called Smash. Okay. And it's gone off the air, but it was about, they were trying to make a musical about Marilyn Monroe. And it was all about the trials and tribulations it took to make this musical. And one of her lyrics was basically, she basically was saying like, some people are born to shine, so protect them and take care because they're fragile. And, knowing how she died, it was just one of those things where like all the people in her life used her and they didn't protect her and they just let her like become this tragedy. Anyway, so.
I mean, I definitely have plenty that I could say about that in regards to you and certain people that I feel.
Okay, that must be some off-camera stuff.
Better off outside of your life.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. I actually moved into our first topic today. So I really was thinking about just the relationships between men and women and equality and inequality and my personal opinions on feminism and how feminism sometimes misconstrued as something that it's not, and how sometimes it can turn into male bashing. So thinking about all that, I was recently watching, I was online on YouTube, and I love Beyonce, right? So I've been waiting for her to put out something new, and she recently put out a new song, and it was a remix of Savage with Megan Thee Stallion, excuse me.
Correct.
So, right, I gotta get it right.
Hold on. Do you like Megan Thee Stallion actually?
Honestly, bro.
Or do you like Beyonce?
What's crazy is I like both of them. When I tell you that, like, I didn't know who Megan Thee Stallion was until but I knew that song. What's that song? Big Old Freak? Mm-hmm. I knew that song. That's that reminds me of the 90s for some reason. It's super ratchet. Look at Emily's face. She's like, I have no clue over there talking.
I don't either. I know who Megan Thee Stallion is.
Right, but Megan the Stallion. Okay.
I said
THEE.
Oh, you mean extreme emphasis on the.
Yes. That's why she did
the.
So you can't say the. You have to say
No,
the.
the.
You can't.
Because she's
Well,
Megan the Stallion.
Well, we already got a second fan.
I didn't say I was a fan. I was just correcting.
But,
English major.
I basically was watching it and online, and they had a remix to their Savage that came out, and I was all about it. But it came out at the same time as this other song came out. I'm mad I don't remember the name of the song. I'm gonna look it up. It was a song with Nicki Minaj and Doja Cat. Does anyone know the name of that song?
Say so?
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
But when it came out, as soon as it came out, I saw a post on YouTube. This single outsells, like the Nicki Minaj single outsold the Beyonce single. And my first instinct was like, why did that have to happen? Like, out of everything that's on the Billboard charts, why did those two songs have to be the ones pit against each other? And it was probably black people that did it. Instead of it being like, why can't Doja Cat and Nicki Minaj and Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion have a single that does well at the same time? So essentially, my first question to you all is, it's not really a form of a question, it's an idea. Do y'all feel like it is more competitive for black women in the industry, in the competitive industries, i.e. the entertainment industry and those kind of things? How do y'all feel about that? Jump in when you want.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
I feel like as far as, specifically hip hop in the black community, that's your question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It is Say So. I was looking it up. Yeah, specifically, I'll just say, I personally feel like black women are pit against each other in a harsher way. Maybe not harsher is the word, but there's clearly more competition that comes across in that industry than any of the other ones. Like, you have white girls who are sometimes pit against each other. I think it never happens with white dudes. And then there's with black dudes, but it's generally like, Usher, Chris Brown. Those are only two R&B people I know of like that. But I think it's worse for black women. I feel like black women, specifically in hip hop, when they come out, there's like this idea that there can only be one hot black girl in that industry.
I could agree with you on that, but I also want you to know that hip hop and R&B, especially hip hop, has always been competitive, man or female.
And I disagree. Why do you say that?
Well, think about it, man. My favorite group, Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Okay.
There was beef started with them and 3 6 Mafia. They will always bring up some type of, you're biting my style, you were trying to sound like me. And then if you think about, because hip hop started on the East Coast, New York City, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And it started from battle rapping, right?
Right.
But before it was battle rapping,
right,
it was breakdancing. Remember?
You see the...
I did.
I liked it.
Think about it now. Certain gangs, not street gangs like shoot 'em up, bang bang. They was dancing.
Yeah.
And they had their shirts on, all the same colors.
Yeah.
And it wasn't no, I'm gonna knock you out, I'm gonna out dance you. Am I correct?
Right, right.
So that's why I say the competition has always been there.
I guess to me, it's not the competition that's the problem, because
that was your question.
That's what I'm about to clarify. Because there's no business, especially in America, in the world, that's not competitive. You know what I'm saying? There's no business like McDonald's compete with Burger King. You feel me? It's not the competition. I'm talking about the fact of it is like when this new female artist come out, you got to go. That's what it feels like in female hip hop. It's not like, because Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia, to me, both had equal success. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Those are two bands that, even though they had beef, competition, it wasn't like 3 6 Mafia came out and just bow to the other one. Right. And I feel like the only time that that's happened, and I mean, I'm not going to say that this is really what happened, but it seems like over the last 10 years, there's only one female hip hop artist that was at a certain level of success, and that was Nicki.
I think I see what you're saying.
And as soon as Nicki came out, go ahead.
Like sort of like the whole TLC versus Black or TLC versus 3LW.
Well, TLC didn't verse Black. TLC founded Black. Black was founded by Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Her brother knew the rapper Natina in that group, and that's how that all happened. Girl groups, even in the 90s, they were less competitive. Of course, we as fans were like, oh, this is my favorite, that's my favorite. But it wasn't like, oh, this girl group's here, everybody got to go. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, why is it that in that industry, why is it worse for Black female hip hop artists than other industries?
I don't know why it's worse. Like, I can't specify because I think it's a lot of variables. I think that not only do you have like record labels involved in it, because at the very top, they're obviously the people who have Rihanna signed versus the people who have Beyonce signed, obviously want their artists to do better. Mm-hmm. And they're going to push it, and they're going to push that narrative of our artist does more, our artist is more, our artist can only be the artist. Mm-hmm. It's also the fans. You know, social media has a huge emphasis on it. You know, it's gotten crazy over the years, and people have get up on their platforms and they die for their favorite artist, and you know, and I'll cuss you out if you don't absolutely agree with everything that I say about my artist.
Right.
I think that I do agree that it's not really, I see what you're saying. It's not really like, why is it not just a comparison versus a competition? Like with male artists, I wouldn't even just say Black artists, but like all artists, you'll be like, okay, well, it was, you know, in the 90s, it was like Christina versus Britney, or like the early 2000s. No one really said that Christina or Britney was better. It was just a comparison. And you had your preference, you know.
And they both had equally full careers.
You know, or you was over here in left field, like in Jessica Simpson. Whereas now, it's more like, oh, either you love Beyonce and you're team Beyonce all day, or you know, you love Nicki Minaj, or you love like Nicki Minaj and who's the other one you were saying? Doja Cat and their song, and then Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion their song. Both songs came out at the same time, 2 equally good songs. However, you're never going to see them on the charts being like, oh my God, the comparison is cool. They have 2 different great ideas, 2 different great collabs. No, it's the push for the competition. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know why it's so specific to women. Mm-hmm. I feel like I don't see that in male artists. I see them, oh, Nas kind of sounds like Jay-Z, you know, Lil Wayne, you know, he got his influence from Biggie, but it's not a competition between them. You can have your favorites, but everybody kind of like just settles on, oh, they're just good artists. So we'll just let them all be in the pot together. And they don't do that with girls. And I don't know why.
Yes, they do. I disagree. Because Foxy Brown and Lil' Kim, they didn't do that with Foxy Brown and Lil' Kim. But they were in the same pot. But they were both rappers, because y'all are sort of blending R&B singers with women that come out as rappers.
Mm-hmm. But they do compare Lil' Kim and Nicki Minaj, even though they're 2 different eras of hip hop.
That's the key.
But why compete them? Why can't they just be in the pot together? Like, oh,
because you have a
Nicki sounds good.
This is why you have a certain time frame as an artist to rule the industry, and they did that because they're saying, can Nicki Minaj bump off Lil' Kim?
Do you know why I disagree with that? And I hate the rider like this, but Beyonce is the proof that that's not the case. Beyonce is pushing 40, bruh, and she can still be hot and be the hottest. Yet look at all the female singers that have come behind her and had success without her having to leave or knock them off.
Well, I got a question. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is what Alex was saying earlier about the record labels pushing these feuds, and I wonder if it's not necessarily saying that we're trying to knock, you know, Beyonce off the throne and take over, as much as you got this person who's coming up who doesn't have the, you know, the mass appeal, but has the talent or whatever. So let's put her in a rivalry with, you know, someone who's up here, so that she gets the notoriety, gets the popularity, and maybe she doesn't dethrone the other person, but that puts her at the level.
Can I ask you a question?
That be it?
Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead, Emily. You were gonna say something. Go ahead.
I think like if you look at sports, okay, where by nature it's always competitive.
Right.
Fans of sports are famously, insane and are willing to pay ridiculous sums of money to buy tickets to games and like stuff like that and merchandise, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I almost wonder if maybe what some of these like up tops in the music industry are trying to do is sort of profit off that same model of getting people, because like once it's like me against you, that's when extremism starts, and that's when you get people willing to spend more money than they would have and willing to all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you ask me, it's just capitalism, and that women being catfights are entertaining in a way that men fighting each other isn't. Not that men fighting each other isn't entertaining, like boxing or whatever, but there's just something about two girls going at each other that people find stimulating, I guess.
Well, Emily, with that point that you just mentioned,
Uh-huh.
they did the same thing, the cat fight, literally with Jay-Z and Nas. They literally did it with Prince and Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just say, well, not you particularly, Duryea, it's not just to females only. It's capitalism. And I agree with Emily on and I agree also with Alex. I don't disagree with you, Duryea. I'm really just saying it does happen with males. And with Emily saying capitalism, and then I'm losing my train of thought with Alex. She said something specific, but the point is, it's a part of the game.
I get
Tupac and Biggie. They did it with them.
Yeah,
and I knew you were going to bring that up. Like, here's my thing. I don't think that these feuds and rhyme, because I get it. What they say about news or publicity, is that what they say? No, there's no bad
publicity.
Yeah, there's no bad publicity, because if your name is out there, you're relevant. People love you. I get that.
I disagree. There is bad publicity.
I feel like it depends on what you do with it. A good friend of mine, Olivia Pope, she always told me when she could take a situation and flip that mom real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, in this industry, especially entertainment industry, I actually heard someone recently say that the one thing about America is that we are a nation that will definitely give you a second chance. We're a nation built on second chances. So, yes, so in the scheme of everything. Even if you do something bad publicly, people are going to want to see you do better. They're going to see you take from that bad situation and make it better. So my idea is that I get what you're talking about, the capitalism and the money making, but I just feel like there's a thin line between that and what happens in our community, specifically the Black community, where we have to tear each other down to get ahead, or the whole crabs in a barrel thing. So
I think it's also era. Go ahead.
One more thing. The reason I say that is because it goes back to the empire versus power thing. Those were really two different shows. Why did they have to be pit against each other so much so? You know what I'm saying? And if you want to say it's for publicity, that's okay. And I think that's okay for certain minds, especially the minds that are aware of that it's just for publicity. But I think there's a lot of people who aren't aware of that. And they buy into those beefs. They feel that that's real. And then they become that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think I see what you're saying. Basically, you got to understand that when you say America gives people second chances, we also like battles and duels. For example, let's take entertainment out of it. People do the same thing with United States presidents.
Yeah.
They compare you. And in this country, we like conflict. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
So since we do that, and
your audio's gone.
I lost you.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Right in the middle of this point.
Now,
I know.
I hear you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was my last? What was the last thing you heard?
U.S. president?
Yeah, presidents. Comparing presidents.
Yeah.
Okay. America, we like conflict and we like the dual nature of things, like the red corner and the blue corner. That didn't just start from nowhere. The Crips and the Bloods were what? Blue and red.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is, and then in the political situation, the red left wing, and I don't know which one is red and which one is blue, but the
red is right.
Okay, the right wing is red, the left wing is blue. So what I'm saying is that's how we. But it's when they get done with the publicity, when they get off TV, they go have champagne and dinner together, Democrats and Republican politicians.
But that's the whole thing. I don't feel like just because someone, that's actually back to my point. I don't feel like just because someone is a Democrat, like it's pushed this idea that, oh, if you don't believe what I believe, we can't get along, which is literally why I created this platform. Yes, you can get along without agreeing, but the people who don't grasp that become the people who push it in a negative way. I think the future is in compromise. I think the future is in unity. And I think there's certain people who feel like if you think different than me, you're a problem. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. And if you think about this, not to really, I think one of you two, Mac or Emily, had a point, but just real quick, I do a lot of research, and what I found out was that's how they're separating us, especially through religion. Because if you don't believe what I believe, you're automatically an enemy in a lot of cases. Basically, what you just said, Duryea. So what I found out was let's talk about as far as races, every race has had an era to rule this planet historically. Every race.
Really?
Yes, that's my point. And once we all realize what you said about unity, you won't have time to go back and forth with people over different viewpoints. We all pretty much bleed the same. Take a piss, take a crap. We all love, to be in love. We all love the same things in the end.
I do want to make one more point before we move to the main topic, which is still on topic. There's that video clip of this teacher explaining to some students. Have you seen it? The blue-eyed, brown-eyed thing.
Yeah, I did see that. It was an experiment.
The teacher basically was telling people that by ignoring another race's struggle, essentially they are promoting racism by saying, "I don't see color." The whole idea is
that concept.
She's like basically saying, how can you tell them you don't see color? Of course you see their color. And you telling them that they don't is essentially telling them that you don't agree with their struggle. So the reason I bring up that, but I just forgot. What were you saying, Corey?
No, actually, Emily and Mac was going to say something.
I know. But the reason I brought up that point was to really say something about the ideas about the races. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. The point, Duryea, was we like to split hairs as a nation.
I think I was making some point about how these differences that we have are really, really. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Because really, it's not that we should ignore our differences. It's that we should accept our differences and understand that they're strengths. Because where you're not great, I'm great, and vice versa. So there's things that this culture knows that this culture doesn't, and there's a unity in that will help us make this planet better. Change the things about it that we're screwing up, like the pollution and like if you go to certain countries that are our enemies, they're living so much cleaner than we're living though. You know what I mean? And we could be learning about how to be better at that stuff instead of calling them our enemies. But I digress.
It's just like this. When have you seen eagles flying with pigeons? When have you seen crows, flying with canaries? You don't see it. So my point is we're living on an animalistic mindset when we are supposed to be more intelligent beings. And that to me is the issue. So my point is when you mention the rap or the hip hop going back and forth with why can't this person be why does this female have to be knocked off? Because we're living in an animalistic mindset now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I do think that there's a racist element to it. I mean, everything I said about like capitalism, I believe, But I also do believe that, I mean, white people
that was a struggle.
in general are not thrilled by the idea of another group being more successful. So many white people that I know who, you know, wouldn't ever think of themselves as like racist or whatever, might be threatened by too many black people becoming famous in an industry that, you know, they want to keep white. I mean, I know it seems like very, I don't know, but I don't think you can disregard that element.
Right.
You definitely might. Go ahead.
If you think about it, Emily. Okay, I see what you're saying, but there's more to what you're saying. Since they feel that way,
what do they do?
This is what they do.
Right.
They control the success of these artists. Many
That's
artists,
what I'm saying.
yeah, they cannot, even if they're got $1 million, they tell these artists, and it's in a lot of artists' contracts, they can't spend the money on what they want to spend it on. That's why they buy mansions when they don't even have a family. What's the
You and this microphone.
It's microphone. I know, Corey. We can't hear you.
It's like every time before you make it, it's like
Yeah.
good point. It's like boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the microphone is like undermining
We can't
you.
hear you.
Is it white?
You just asked if the microphone was white.
Took you a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes. It also might be because you're holding it. I don't think you need
I
to.
think that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
So, what was the last point I made? Okay, I think I was saying something like the reason why.
Yeah. You were saying that they would, Emily was talking about how they wouldn't want to allow that to happen because it's a fear thing, which I've heard recently. I'm sorry, I'm going to just take it for a second, Corey. I've heard that recently, this idea that, and I guess because I try to look at everything so optimistically, it's hard for me to really, really, really just say, oh, it's just they fear us. You know what I'm saying? But I do understand the idea that people fear what they don't understand, and especially they fear what they feel could be a threat.
Well, see, a lot of white people in the higher, I'm not talking about like your common white people. The people that rule the actual country and planet right now, we could agree are white. I told you, everything comes in eras.
Yeah.
Even in the Bible, it says the world will end. But guess what? In many translations, it says the era will end, not the world.
Right.
So my point is, a lot of white people know the ancient scriptures, and they know their time is going to get cut short for them to rule. So my point is, they're trying to postpone the black person actually spending their money on what they want to spend it on. So what I was saying was, a lot of black artists that are highly successful have it in their contract that they can't spend the money on what they want to really spend it on.
Which is why you see so many stories like TLC.
And that's why they're buying mansions, because they got to do something with the money or they're going to get taxed on it.
Right.
So what is the point of buying a mansion when you don't have a family that big?
Right, right.
It's tax purposes.
Well, then, okay, so since we're talking about tax and professionals and everything, I'm going to segue into our meaty topic.
All right.
That was our lead into my question that I posed to you. It's about the relationship between men and women in the workplace, specifically taking everything that we just talked about into account. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I say something?
Yes,
of course.
I just want to, like, before we completely get off the topic I just want to say, I think that this is something that a lot of people would probably bite my head off for saying.
Oh, no.
Not here.
You know, like Corey was saying that we, in a lot of ways, live on like an animal level. And so when we're talking about this kind of like racial fear, I think that is the level that we're on. It's very primal. But I think that there's also like a logic to it, because I don't think very many people would admit this, but I think a lot of white people are desperately afraid of, you know, the population of Hispanics getting bigger than white people, which is, you know, might happen, or like whatever, because we don't think that if that happens, that we're all just going to live in harmony. We think we will then be the ones to be persecuted because we know we fucking deserve it.
But then I get what you're saying, but then to me, and I know some black people don't feel this way. I feel like this. Look, I'm not gonna fucking judge you by some shit your ancestors did, because for me, like, I want to be.
It's not about what your ancestors did. It's about what people are doing right now.
Well, yeah, there's some, but then there's some white people out there who do a lot of fucked up shit. There's some white people who don't. Just like it is with black people, Hispanic people. Like, just because a person's white doesn't mean they're racist. Just because a person's black doesn't mean they're fucking ratchet. Just because
they're not racist doesn't mean they're not part of the problem.
No, I think basically, Dre, what Emily's basically saying is, when she said they deserve it, put it like this, Emily. I can speak for Hispanics and blacks. I was like, my first habitat was surrounded by Hispanics. We used to live in a trailer park, and there was nothing. I think we was the only
black family.
I've been in that situation. I lived in an apartment complex where we were the only white people and everybody was Hispanic.
My point is we're not as hateful as people think we are. So if we were to come up, we wouldn't come up to crush white people. We would come up to uplift white people. That's the only reason why we were enslaved in the first place, is because we gave them a helping hand and they were treacherous against us and crossed our trust historically.
I think
my point is we're not treacherous as
white people are not going to trust that.
I know, but I'm telling you, we're not as treacherous as a lot of people think.
I know. I mean,
but this is the thing about it. When you talk about the creating equality, truly creating equality, what has to happen is there has to be a compromise. There has to be a little give and a little get, which kind of is my problem with.
That's not what Emily's saying.
No. I know. But I'm just saying something. This is my problem with, like, when it comes to male bashing, because I feel like there's a fine line between women empowerment and male bashing. And if male bashing happens, we're not going to just empower women. We're going to end up oppressing men. And the goal is to have everybody on an even playing field. Same thing with blacks and whites.
What you're saying right now is exactly how most white people feel about other races. That, you know, anti-racism just becomes white people bashing, and all that's going to happen is, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it just undermines the movements.
But I feel like this, like, when black people say racist stuff around me, I tell them, you know, that's racist. And they look at me like, I mean, I can't be racist. And I've literally had black people say, I can't be racist because I'm black. And I'm like, no, you can still be racist. And some black people feel like the only time you can be racist is if you're white or Hispanic, anything but black. But black people can say, oh, look at that cracker. Oh, that old Asian can't drink. Like, we can say what the fuck we want about racists, and we're not racist. But as soon as they say something like, oh, I guess you must be good at basketball because you're black. Man, fuck. And so to me, I feel like the fact that we think that way is the problem too. It's not the only problem, but it's like this. Just because when you want to create that balance there, it can't be created out of hate. Because you're just going to end up taking the coin and flipping it over. You know what I'm saying? It'll just be, all right, so now it's our turn to treat y'all like shit. But the way the universe works, I believe, karmically, if once black people or whoever is in power, if we treat everybody else like shit, it's just going to be flipped on its head again. Somebody has to stop it from getting flipped on its head and make it just even. I
agree, but I'm just saying the group in power is never going to trust that the group that is not in power isn't
possible.
I mean, like, clearly, as a man, you're demonstrating that you feel this way, that you're afraid of male bashing, and that you think that if, like, feminism is given too much leverage or whatever, that we're going to, like, oppress you, which is such bullshit.
I don't feel like I'll get oppressed. Hold on. Let me say this real quick. I don't feel like I'll get oppressed because, you know, because I'm part of the LGBT community, and
that don't make you a woman.
No, it doesn't. But women don't come at me like that. Like, a girl would come in the corner. I know. That was shade.
I do.
I caught the shade.
There was no shade.
Oh, no. She shaded the fuck out of me just then.
You missed the point.
What's the point?
What she's saying is ultimately, white people don't trust the upliftment of other races.
Well, why don't they?
In general,
Right.
not every white person,
Right,
but
right, right.
that's what she's saying. So you didn't address that.
So as a white person, Emily, do you feel like, okay, I agree with what you said, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So what's the solution? If there was a solution, what would it look like?
Okay, let me put it this way. Male bashing. I'm not going to say it's not a legitimate concern, okay? So how would it happen that would stop being the center of the conversation? Perhaps if there was a feminist conversation and men fucking showed up to it, then it wouldn't become male bashing. Perhaps if white people just showed up to help black people, then it wouldn't become what we're worried about. But yet people let the worry prevent them from engaging.
So then my question is, so as a white person, and as a man, Corey, and as a white person, Emily Mack. So, okay, what you said was that the fear comes from engaging in that conversation, and so they don't show up because they fear what will happen when they engage in that conversation. Am I right so far?
I don't think that people fear what will happen when they're engaged. I think they just fear, and so they don't engage.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, okay, so me as a person, I feel like if I know the goal is compromise, I can't come, and I know, say for instance, I'm the wronged party. I was wrong. You did the wronging. I am wronged by you, right? So I show up to the meeting, and I'm pissed, and I don't give a fuck because I was the one that was wrong. I get to act like anything I want to act like, and I'm expecting you to just sit there and take it. That's my thing about it, is it has to still be on both levels. I can't show up to the meeting with that attitude because there's not going to be any progress. I can't just say that because you wronged me, now it's your turn to be a punching bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you show up to the meeting, and let's say the meeting is about race, and 1,000 white people show up on your side, you're not going to feel as inclined to. So what I'm saying is, if people don't want the groups that they oppress to one day oppress them, perhaps they should just provide some fucking support. And then the people will be less angry. I mean, I know if I went to like a women's meeting or something and there were like a ton of men there, I mean, I'd be shocked, but I would also be like really pleasantly surprised to know that like, okay, these guys, maybe they're worried about this, that, and the other, but mostly they just want to get involved to make sure that everybody can like live a life.
Right. Well,
but what about Mac and Alex? We haven't heard from them.
I know. I was actually gonna. That's why I wanted to talk to Mac, because I don't even have to really segue. Honestly, the way we're vibing right now, I think we just go into it without doing like the breakup of time. Do y'all mind us going to the?
No,
that's fine. Right. I'm sorry that I kept us on this. I just really wanted.
Oh, you're actually. No, it naturally segued into it because to me, the reason I chose this topic is because I feel like in order for men and women to find an equal, like me and my brother were talking about it. This one right here. We were talking about it, and basically I was saying that, I was basically saying that when it comes to the workplace, like, I guess he was asking, like, what the whole women's suffrage is voting, women's equal pay thing is about. And I was basically saying, because even still today, a lot of women in the workplace, they don't get the same amount of money that men get.
Right.
Typically in the entertainment industry, by the way. So basically he was saying that, I'm not going to say his opinion, but we were talking about it and made me think this. Okay, so I asked him, do you think as a black man that black men do enough in the workplace to support their female counterparts? And if they're not doing enough, should they do more? And, I'm going to let Corey say what his response was.
Hold on. So are we segueing right now?
Yeah, because I can explain more why I think it's a segue. Because to me, I feel like men need to do more to support women in the workplace so that women don't feel the need to bash us to get up. You know what I'm saying? Because if women feel the need to make us a target when that whole coin flips and women are CEOs and all they're going to be looking out for is the women and they're going to want to bash the men. And I feel like... Okay,
so basically the fact that women want men to protect them goes against equality.
I see what he's saying.
You see what he's saying?
I can understand that. I understand. I didn't say I agreed. I said I understood what he said.
Okay.
There's no reason to agree or disagree. If you're looking at the definition of equality.
Let's look it up.
Okay.
Go ahead. Keep talking. Keep talking.
No, look it up. Look it up.
Use Webster's, not Oxford. We're Americans.
And Duryea, aren't you on a computer? Why do you keep looking at your phone for this stuff?
Well,
Right.
because I want to see. I want to stay engaged with the conversation.
That's fine.
I guess I could do that. You don't know me, Matt.
I see what you're saying, though, Corey. Like, the nature of equality is that there shouldn't be, as a woman, there shouldn't be a need for me to need a man to stand up and speak up for me, and I should not be seeking that out from
Right.
him when I'm working with him, just like as coworkers.
Well, it's like
On the flip side of that, though,
Mhm.
as a man, it should not be a need for you to not speak up when you see something happening to a woman, regardless if it's a woman.
That's not equality.
Why is it
Like
not,
this.
though?
This is why. You're talking about being complementary. You're not talking about being equal. A male lion is only equal to a male lion.
A male lion's not equal to anything because they don't do anything in that situation.
They really. But I
You're
mean,
missing the point. Okay. All right. Let's put it like this.
Okay.
Give me something. Hold on. Right here. Y'all see what this is, right?
right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It is a socket. It is a plug to a socket.
Right.
The plug is complementary to the socket. They're not equal. The only thing that could be equal to this is another plug, right?
I get what you're saying,
But you treat them equally.
They're
Right.
not equal.
But
They're
Yeah,
not the
complementary.
same,
That's
but they're
the thing.
equal.
Oh, you just
wait,
said
wait,
it.
wait.
Hold on. What did she say?
She said
They're not the same, but they
Thank
are
you.
equal.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, well,
I mean, they both have equal value.
Right. One doesn't work without the other.
Yeah.
That's
I mean-
complementary. That's not.
wait. But what we're saying is because there's a difference between a state of being and deserving of rights. When we talk about women in the workplace, we're talking about the rights that they deserve. So the reason I feel like
Women have more rights than men in the
No.
workplace. Yes, they do.
I don't think they do, because I feel like when it comes down to
Whatever bullshit rights you're talking about, I'll trade it to make as much money as you do.
Hello.
what right,
Women make more money than men in the workplace. What are y'all
That's
talking
just
about?
not true.
that's not
That's really not.
Ask
Look it up.
Mac.
Look it up.
That's
Look up.
okay.
It's something like
Let's go to our
78
expert.
cents on the dollar.
Listen,
That's for white women.
Wait.
Look.
So Mac is the subject matter expert. His work is in diversity in the workplace. So let's hear what he has to say.
Statistically, white women make 78 cents for every dollar that white men make.
So that
boom.
no, that's not more, Corey. That's less.
That's not more. That's less.
That's what he's saying is if a white man makes $1, a white woman makes 70 cents. So every time a white man makes $1, she only gets 70 cents.
78
For
cents.
doing the same job.
Doing
right.
the same job.
Oh, okay.
And if you talk about-
are we arguing about 78 cents literally?
It doesn't
Why
matter.
can't I make $1 though?
But
But I mean, that's the average.
that's the average.
So
It's not equal.
No.
And it's
that's
not just
average.
78 cents when you start talking about a $100,000 salary.
yeah, and if you think
Mac,
about it on average,
Okay, Mac, who owns the company? Men, right?
and
Well, it
that's
depends
part
on
of the
company.
issue.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying is the issue is that if a man
Capitalism.
wait, hold up, Corey, hold up. Listen. So if a man were in charge of the company, right, and he took it upon himself to make sure that women got $1 on the dollar of what a man makes, meaning if a woman, I'm not going to judge your payment by your gender. I'm going to judge it by your job. Everybody who is a supervising fucking analyst is going to get paid $1,000 per fucking every 2 weeks, period. Unless their job performance slips and suffers. But that's a wholly different thing. But
I mean,
go ahead.
Corey's right that it's capitalism. I mean, that's what it is. A company's going to pay anyone as little amount as they possibly can. But capitalism is full of immoralities. So just
I said
because
good thing.
that's the system that we're under doesn't mean that we shouldn't regulate in some ways to prevent people from being injured.
That's why I asked, should they? Because I think clearly men are not doing enough to protect women in the workplace. Because I feel like if you know that there's this disparity, is that the right word? Disparity?
Yeah.
There's this disparity in the pay and you have a hand over the pay, just fix it. But I get the capitalist thing, but why isn't this? So if I don't want to pay everybody $1 on the dollar, I'm paying everybody 78 cents on the dollar. I mean,
no, that's an average, Duryea.
No, but my point is this. Yeah, because it's average.
Statistics
I'm saying
are very tricky.
That's
hold up. Go ahead.
When I say on average, I mean comparatively on average among all jobs. So, for example, you go to McDonald's and you apply for that entry-level job, you're getting minimum wage. Or maybe you're getting a little more. Maybe it's $8. And it doesn't matter if you're male, female, white, black. You just get that minimum wage or their bottom wage. So right there, it's 1-to-1. But you give it 5 and 10 years, the data show that men will get higher raises than women. And so that gap grows.
Because men and women do different jobs. This is what I
really,
mean.
Corey.
Listen, this is what I mean. Are there more men construction workers than women construction workers?
You see, that's what I'm saying is they compare a male construction worker to a female construction worker. They compare a male accountant to a female accountant. That's where the disparity is.
You see?
Yes.
But that's basically he's saying what I'm saying. You're comparing all jobs into one average.
Listen, Corey, listen for 1 second. It's not about, I get what you're saying about what it is. I think what it is.
That's what it is. There's no discussion.
Now here's the next step of the question. Should it be different? That's what I said.
It's going to be different.
Wait, let me just one quick. I'm gonna let you have the floor. Just to clarify what the discussion is. It's like, okay, yes, I get what you're saying. Capitalism, that's the way it is. So should it be different? And that's why I feel like men aren't doing enough in the workplace, because I feel like it should be different. That's my personal opinion.
It sounds like you're saying you want to be to the point where you have the equal amount of construction workers, men and female. If you got 12 construction working men, you want 12 construction working women. That's the only way you're going to get the average you're looking for.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it shouldn't matter how many men and women I have. If you're good at the job, you're good at the job and you're going to get paid.
What I'm saying is there's women that get paid more than men in certain jobs.
Yeah, and I feel like it's like every black kid is told at a very young age, when you do something good, as soon as you do something good and you go tell your mama or your daddy that you do it good and they see you do it good, they're going to tell you, that's great. Now you got to do it twice as good as all the other white kids.
No, but listen.
Well, let me finish my thought. So at the same time, with a woman in the workplace, it's the same way. She's like, okay, I'm a construction worker. I have to be the best motherfucking construction worker out here to get half as much respect as these men. No, and that's true, Corey. That's true.
Listen, bro. Are there more female nurses than female male nurses? I mean, I said that.
We know what you meant, yeah.
We know what you meant.
So that equates into the average.
But should it be different?
No, okay. First of all, we need to clear up what Corey's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to do with what Mac was saying. And how these statistics are calculated.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you take the nursing job, right? And you say the male nurses who've been working for 5 years in this type of specialty and the females who've been working 5 years in the same specialty, and you compare them.
They're typically going to be equal. Typically.
You may be able to find a specific case, or small one job, but on average, when you do all those different comparisons, and so you got a ratio, $1 to $1, 95 cents to $1, $2 to $1. When you compare all of those, on average, it's 78 cents to the dollar, female to male. So what they're doing is they are comparing each individual job with the same amount of work, same amount of experience, comparing them, and then coming up with the average. And what I was getting at with like taking that entry level job at McDonald's and everyone getting the same, and you start, moving up the ladder, the gap starts to grow, even though you're doing the same jobs. Let's say, I used to work at a restaurant and I worked in the kitchen. We had people who worked the grill, which was like the best paid job in the kitchen, who were male and female. And the males made more than the females.
How do you know?
Because I got to see the pay.
I believe it.
So were the males bringing more value to the table than the females?
Or was it just that they were males? Just your opinion, I guess, unless you know different.
Are you asking me if I know different?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know different.
Huh?
Because I was in a management type of
No,
role, so I got to see some of that stuff.
I'm asking you, because there was that disparity in pay, is it because the male workers were more valuable or because they were men, period?
I mean, I guess it depends on each individual person. Like, there's probably men who are like the best at something. There are probably women who are the best, and then you like compare. But I can tell you that there's at least one woman who was our best. She was the only person who could get the food out at the right rate and the right speed, and she did not make the most money.
And she didn't. Why didn't she get the most money?
Because on average, she didn't get the same raises.
Because, okay, so there's a lot of reasons that it could be. For example, statistically, women are less likely to ask for raises.
Right.
They're less likely to be given promotions.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many factors. You can't narrow it down to one thing.
That's my point. If you don't ask, you do not receive.
Culture tells women not to ask for things.
And that's what I was saying, Corey. Let me throw this real quick.
All the time.
Huh?
But let me throw it out there.
Go ahead.
It's kind of like, by the way, this is Corey's excited face, everybody. It's rare.
Yay!
Excitement.
Okay.
I deal with women a lot. I'm telling you.
He does. And Corey,
you definitely understand them better than I do, for sure, then.
Right.
I didn't say that.
Did she
I didn't say that. She said culturally, women don't ask for things.
They're
are
taught
told not to ask for things.
Hold on. Taught.
Yeah.
Oh, Corey.
Corey,
you can't deny systematic oppression. Like, you can't deny the fact that certain groups in the world and in this country are systematically oppressed. And it's hard for us to realize that, because we want to, I think, especially when we're not the oppressed group, that we benefit from the oppression of these others.
So in child support court, who's oppressed?
It depends.
No one.
Generally, if we're talking about child support, generally when a couple...
What do women ask for in child support court?
What do they ask for?
Yes.
Money.
I didn't stutter. They ask for...
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick.
And then are they granted generally everything? Y'all are going back and forth, but we're really only talking about 78 cents here.
Pause.
And we're talking about average.
Listen for 2 seconds. Just listen. That 78 cents is a huge difference once it goes from $1 to a salary. When you're talking about someone who makes $100,000 a year, that doing the same job as a woman, she's only making $78,000 a year. So that's 12. Is it 12? That's 20.
Most women,
22,000.
Wait, Corey, listen, just listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's $22,000 that I'm not getting doing the same job as this dude because he has a dick and I have a vagina.
It's less for Alex.
And it's so to me, what we're saying is this: that's not fair. It's not fair. If two people are what they should be judged on. Listen, Corey, listen. What they should be judged on is the quality of their work. I think everybody in here can agree with that. Now, if you're telling me that this dude is just not, or this female is just not good at her job, she's not good at her job. But what Mac was telling you in the example he brought up was he was in a situation where the best worker there was a female and she was not the highest paid. So there's a culture that exists in this country where a woman has to work harder than a man in the workplace in order to get literally less than he does. So because that is the truth of the current situation, should we as men do our part to rectify the situation. Being if you're the person doing the payroll or rewarding the promotions, or if you're the person teaching the little girl, hey, little girl, my daughter, if you are working hard, ask for a raise. They're telling you.
See, okay, I think the problem is we're talking about this in a way as if women are asking for special treatment from men. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for you to fucking stop oppressing us. That's not special treatment.
I'm saying my standpoint on it as being raised in the South, and these ideas that you have about if you see something, fix it, say something,
So let me ask this question.
Let me finish my thought.
How are women being oppressed?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
How are women being oppressed?
I mean, not receiving fair pay for fair work is a form of oppression.
So let's add on to the pay. Don't skip it.
All right. I'll give you an example of research that was just done in the financial services industry. Managers were observed in how they interacted with their employees, right? And the researchers found that throughout the year, the male managers would give regular feedback to the male employees. Hey, you did a good job here. Hey, here's something you should work on, which, as you can probably agree, we all know that getting feedback helps you improve.
Okay.
The researchers also found that these male managers did not give regular feedback to the women. And the first feedback those women would get would be at their performance review at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So
the year, they didn't have any clue as to how they were performing.
Right. So the men all year long are getting feedback. Hey, improve this, do that, helping them get better and better at their job. But the women were getting no feedback, had no idea how they were doing until the end of the year when they got their feedback. And the end of the year, they'd get like, you're doing fine. It's not like they're, performing poorly, but they just aren't getting that little bit of help that a manager should be giving all their employees, because the manager's job is to help their employees do better.
Right.
Okay.
And that right there.
Disparity exists if the women were the managers.
Let me hear from Emily real quick.
If the women were the managers, did they also give more attention to men, or did they give more attention to women employees?
No. The female managers either gave the same type of attention to males that the men did, or they gave equal. There was no examples in this research of the reverse.
Okay. So when you say that, and when you're talking about this research, what specific research are you referring to?
This was a study done by a specific company into the feedback at their company's managers. And I don't want to get into the name of the company because they're a client. They hired us to help with this.
Okay, so this is your personal experience.
Yes.
This was the research that their company did.
What I'm saying is this is not something I could research.
Oh, there's other research that supports this. But this is a particular example that I can share that I know about.
Okay.
I mean, think of it in let's say I'm all your managers, right? And let's say I give Emily feedback every day, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And I totally ignore, the three of you and giving you feedback.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be unfair?
Right, because the clearly difference is that our skin color, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to bring something to the table. Personal experience in the military. There was a dude who was drinking in the barracks, a whole bunch of people, men and females, and then stuff started dwindling down. It got late in the evening, late in the morning, actually. And these females, after the dude was drunk, sodomized the Marine.
Sorry to cut you off. We got a 5-minute warning. Okay, go ahead.
We can come back though, right? We can come back to the Zoom, right?
No, I'm saying it's 5 minutes. We're gonna.
Okay. Well, the point is when he went to report those females that sodomized him while he was drunk.
Right.
he didn't get any support because they didn't believe him.
So
That's,
women aren't oppressed?
Right. That's the thing about it.
No,
We're
he
not
was oppressed. What I'm saying is that you guys,
That sucks. That's terrible.
Corey.
It is.
Right.
Wait. Let me hear
Interrupt
you
on
this. What the story that you just told is a that's really bad that happened to him, but it doesn't change. Emily, I can't stand you right now.
What I'm saying is both men and women are oppressed.
Yes,
Right.
but what I'm saying is
So women show up for men more than men show up.
and show up for women. That's what I'm saying. We have to
Because
show
when y'all
up
are
more.
oppressed, we'll speak up.
It's not about listen.
What?
Listen. It's not about denying oppression. What we're saying is if you are not part of the oppressed party and you're not doing the oppressing, you need to be helping the people.
What I'm hearing is men are pressing women more. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not what we're saying.
No, because the question.
That's what I believe.
Okay. So how can you?
Well, that's what Emily.
That's sort of what y'all were saying.
We're saying you should show up. Just like when Emily said earlier about, if a bunch of men came to a feminist meeting, just the fact that they came to support is showing up for them. We just need, or I won't even say we, because I'm not, in general.
Real men are not feminists.
Listen, Corey.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a feminist.
So they're not going to show up to a feminist
support someone else, though. You don't have to be black to
Macwood.
support black people. You can support other people and other groups and other problems, and not be a part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What we're essentially saying is, okay, if I'm not racist, but I'm white, right, and I'm not racist, I can show up to this Black Lives Matter movement and just be there for them. Just be like, I support what y'all doing, because it doesn't have to be that all men. We're not saying all men across the board oppress all women. We're not saying all of any. What we're saying is, if you're not part of the oppressors, if you want to make sure that it's clear, hey, I support y'all being treated equally, just support them. Sometimes it's not necessarily that you have to do something. I personally might handle it different than another person, because I would be the type of person to be like, hey,
but every man is not in charge of a woman's pay in a work.
It's not about that. It's just
only
enough.
2 or 3 men, because y'all act like.
Can I give you an example real quick, Corey? Real quick. I don't remember who it was. This actor, not too long ago, found out that he was getting paid more than his female counterpart. I want to say Scarlett Johansson and Mark Wahlberg, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't it. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it wasn't it. But basically, he gave part of the money that he was making, he gave it away to either charity or back to her or something like that. That's what we're talking about. He showed up for her because he basically was like, you know what? I didn't realize this type of shit was going on. So essentially, and I don't support it. And this is how I'm going to show my support. It's not about that all men are oppressing women or vice versa. It's about moving forward, what should we do? If there's a problem, so once we've identified the problem, women get paid less in the workplace, period. It's proven. The data shows it. How do we fix the problem? Women are going to do what only women can do to fix the problem. And men have to do something to fix the problem, because if you're not fixing the problem, you're allowing it.
Yeah. It's like small steps. I'm not asking you to kick the door down for me and cuss my boss out and get me a promotion. No, but what I am saying is, if you know that you're making more than me and we're doing the same amount of work, hey, write a Facebook post, hey, reach out to HR and say, I would like to personally lodge a complaint about the things that I've heard going on between my counterpart and myself. But I feel like you think that women are asking to be rescued and to be taken care of and somebody to come in and save us. And that's not
practically what you are saying.
But no, that's not what we're saying. Like, we don't need you to do that. You want a comrade. You want a counterpart. You want a compatriot. I don't need a rescue.
I mean, y'all have the power. We don't. What are we supposed to do?
What you guys are asking for. How can you say one thing?
Did you hear what Emily just said, Corey?
No, I didn't.
Say it, Emily.
Y'all have the power. We don't. What are we supposed to do?
Stop begging for equality.
It's not
Stop
begging.
what?
Stop begging
for equality. Because
ain't nobody begging.
You're missing the point. You're not going to be equal and then asking for essential help at the same time.
I'm not asking for help. I'm asking for you to not oppress me.
Right.
That's
There's
it.
a difference. There's a
If some guy backs my ass in the office, yeah, I expect you to say something to him. Not because you're doing me a fucking favor, but because you're a good person.
Has anyone ever backed you into an office?
Like, sexually?
Yes or no? Directly. Sexually? Any way.
You mean has
Yes,
anybody
yes,
sexually harassed
of course.
her? Yes. Okay.
Of course.
Now, if they backed you into an office, you think men won't say something? You literally
won't.
think that?
Some won't. Yeah.
Most
didn't
men.
say so.
I don't think so.
That's the thing about it. You
There
might
is
be
a
looking
man
at
out
it.
there who
Corey
will say
would.
something.
Corey would be that dude. I can say this for him. I mean, Corey would not let something like that happen. But what she's saying is, you have to acknowledge that a lot of men would turn the other cheek because they don't want to lose their job. This or that and the third.
Right.
One thing you have to remember is a lot of men are not men. There is a feminist suppression thing going on. Do you know that? Men are wearing purses right now.
So they're
That's a
convenient.
fashion choice. That's
Okay,
not.
that's a whole-
Why should a man not carry a bag to have his stuff
Right.
with him? Unless his masculinity is so toxic that he can't even like do things that are good for his own life.
That leads us into a whole idea about
Right. I think you get too detailed about what's
Not really
masculine and
deep.
what's feminine.
It's really
and-
not deep.
It is though. It is though because
Just said some men won't and some men will,
well, let
right?
me hit you with this really
Some
quick.
men want what?
Won't
Help.
if you
Protect
got backed up into
Yeah.
an office, you're
Yeah.
saying basically it's saying if you get backed into an office, you're saying no men will help you.
That's not what I'm saying.
So say it again.
What I'm saying is, if it happens and you're there, I expect you to do something, and I expect
Not
any
talking
man to
about
do
me.
something.
I asked you, have you
She said
been
she would
backed up?
expect any man to do something, but that doesn't mean that she's begging for his help. She would expect it because out of being a good person.
Unless
said
the guy had like proven to me
again.
that he wasn't a good person.
Again, you said you would expect a man to come help you, right?
Why not? Why do you think that? Why do you think it's
Okay, no.
I'm asking
I would
her.
expect whoever is there
Anybody,
to help
right.
me. So if it's
That's
a
what you think.
woman, I expect her to help me too.
She would expect anybody to help.
Hey,
It's just
So-
more likely that if it's another girl in the room, she's going to help than it is another man.
That's true.
Well, here, let me. I'm
That's
just going to
my
say this
point.
really quick.
that's not
Sorry.
true.
Let me.
There's
So
girls
we're
that'll
basing it
turn
on
the
personal
other cheek.
experience.
There's
I don't know what you're
females-
basing it on.
There's females that'll turn the other cheek as well.
Let me say this.
Okay, you guys have both used that phrase now, turn the other cheek. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
What do you feel like it means, Emily? I keep it up again.
When someone is like doing something shitty to you, you turn the other cheek. Not like doesn't mean like looking away.
I'm
Okay.
telling you, there's females that'll look away.
Okay,
That's what
well,
I'm
we
telling
might be using the phrase wrong, but
I don't
Right.
understand. I don't understand how just
Okay,
because
let's
there
start
are bad
off-
women
let's
means
start
that men can just be bad.
that's what I don't get either, Corey.
Right.
I feel like what you're
Exactly
saying.
that.
Listen, Corey, listen, please listen. I feel like what you're saying is one bad turn deserves another. And you're basically saying since there are women out there who do this, it's okay for men to do that. And it's not okay.
I don't think that's what he's
I didn't
saying.
say that
No.
at all.
What do you think
Not
he's
even
saying,
close.
Alex?
Just let him talk.
Okay, again, Emily, have you ever been backed into an office?
Yes,
And what happened?
I got away.
Did anyone see you get backed into the office?
No.
So what are you talking about?
What
If
do you
no
mean, what
one
am I talking
saw
about?
you, how can someone help you?
I wasn't expecting anyone to help me.
In that situation.
Because there was no one there.
We were talking
Yeah.
about a hypothetical too, Corey.
But
Corey,
had someone walked by, then yeah, I would have been really hurt if they hadn't done something.
And my question to you is, if a man was there and he saw that, do you think that he would turn away just because he's a man?
Just because he's a man? No.
Thank you. So what are y'all talking
I
about?
don't think that you can't say 100% yes or no to that question because you
Yeah,
don't know.
I asked her. See, that's my point, Alex.
But,
I
I
asked
mean-
her, and guess what she said? No.
I
Right?
don't think that.
Hold on, Alex. Hold on. What did I just ask her, and what did she just say?
If someone walked by,
I said
Yeah,
a man.
don't
I
patronize
said a
her. What do
man.
you want to say, Alex?
right, Corey.
I'm not patronizing her because I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
there's
you
an
are.
understanding.
But
that-
listen, though, this is what I'm telling you, Corey. I think everybody kind of gets your point about women and men, and women don't need to be looking at men as their saviors if they want equality. I think we get that. What we're saying is, are men accepting the truth of, like, the fact that you can't see how men oppress women is the point. The fact that you can't even acknowledge. Well, listen, don't cut me off. Don't cut me off. Let me say it. The fact that because you asked how you asked us to come up with an example of how men oppress women. The fact that you need an example of that and don't already know on your own is kind of example of what we're talking about. Men oppress women still. And maybe not be all men. It might not be you. It might not be me. But it still is something that happens. And if you can't acknowledge that, that's part of the problem, which is why I said we should be protecting them in the workplace. It doesn't have to be physically protecting them. It doesn't have to be giving them half my pay. It could just be in acknowledging that there's a reason for them to be protected.
Well, I personally think men love women. So maybe something I'm not seeing what you guys are saying.
Which is fair. I mean,
I need your fucking love. I need your respect.
I don't need either one.
What?
I don't.
A man that you're married to that clearly loves you. I don't get what you're talking about.
But he also respects her.
So
and if he didn't respect me, then I wouldn't be married to him, no matter how much he loves me.
Love is great, but sometimes love doesn't equal respect. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Very true.
Okay. Let me ask this. Wait. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, I think we veered in a direction that is a little like too specific to the question we're trying to answer.
Right.
And that is it someone else's responsibility to help or support or whatever word you want to put there, other people in getting some sort of equality, depending on what the discussion is.
Right.
And I think that rather than looking at it in terms of like, is this group responsible for supporting the other group, or is this group, in a worse state than the other group? I think it's that each one of us, regardless of where we are in the organization, regardless of whether we have the power to give someone pay raise or not, regardless of whether we happen to be there when someone's being sexually assaulted or something, we've all got a responsibility to support one another and to help call out and end oppression.
That's just like the Bible.
Wherever.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if Emily's our boss and she favors me and gives me, special treatment, and let's say, Corey, you're a hard worker and you're really good at your job, and she ignores that because she gives me special treatment, it's my responsibility, because I have her ear, to say, hey, Corey's a great worker. Why aren't you giving him a chance? Not because I have some innate responsibility as a male or a white person, but because I have that position with Emily that for some reason she trusts my opinion but doesn't trust yours. But because I can see that you're good at your job, I should use that trust that I have to show her that you're good at your job.
Okay. Women, in order for women to really be equal, as in their minds, I guess, they have to realize that sometimes in life, you do try your hardest. You do stay up all night and work hard, and you still lose. That's equality.
So there's no racism then. Black people just don't work hard enough.
I didn't say that.
But that is what you're saying.
That's not what I said. Did I say that? I said
didn't say it literally, of course.
You're implying that, bro. You definitely.
I didn't say that.
You're like all lives matter in this situation. You can't do that.
No, black people must.
I get what you're talking about.
I didn't say that at all.
There's a difference between the cookie crumbling in a bad way and oppression. Like oppression,
equality is literally equality. That's the point I'm trying to
make. So you
make.
feel like everybody already has equality?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Everyone has the same losses, or they have not the same losses, but everyone has the same 24 hours in a
But
day.
does everyone have the same opportunities?
Right.
Yes.
That's what no, that's not
So,
true.
like the kid who's born to a billionaire and goes to private school and
Right.
Harvard and all that, he's
Right.
got the same
That's not-
opportunities that you have.
That's not the same
Like,
opportunity.
so that's what I'm saying. Like, if I was born, like, let me just, if I was born and my parents are millionaires, do I have the same opportunity as a kid who's born in Bowen homes?
Can you apply to Princeton? Regardless if you have the
But
money.
can you get
Pay
in?
for it?
Yeah, but
That's
can
not
your
up to-
parents
that's not-
pull
Corey, that's what I'm
strings
saying,
to
like-
get you in and get you a better high school
That's not-
education so you'll do better on your SATs?
Absolutely.
How many people came from nothing and got better than people who had a silver spoon?
But if you look
Not
at the
many these
ratio,
days.
Corey,
Right.
That's
the
not
ratio-
true. That's
Listen,
not
listen,
true, Emily.
listen.
I'm
The
just
ratio
telling you
of-
what I've read.
The
Right.
ratio of
What I
people
know.
who have succeeded from nothing to the people who have succeeded from something.
3A. Michael Jordan
Corey, I
was
don't-
born in a country.
You're gonna lose this. But Michael Jordan was one dude. One.
But that all you need is one.
No, you.
Michael Jordan
Corey,
failed.
There's
his
an
first
difference
basketball
between, there's an
tryout
exception to
during
the rule. You're
He
taking all
failed.
these exceptions to the rules and saying because these exceptions.
Wait, no, okay. I have a question though. If this is true, which, all right, why didn't you go to Princeton? Like
I don't
genuinely,
desire to go to Princeton. That's
Well,
not what I want.
is
but
your
I'm-
life what you have right now? What you desire?
Yes, it is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I didn't know anything about construction. I didn't even desire it, but I want it now.
Okay.
I'm not denying what
Okay.
you're saying about
Because of the
you're making a great
opportunity
point.
presented to you,
Yeah,
correct?
you're making a great point about opportunities, but what you're doing,
killing
Corey,
me.
listen.
Go ahead.
Use these things for 5 minutes. You have a great. I get what you're saying about hustle and hard work, and I didn't mean to patronize it just then, but I see what you're saying about hustle and hard work. But also,
I don't
you're
desire to go to
ignoring-
Princeton.
listen,
bet you I could.
listen. I hear what you're saying about hustling and hard work, but you're ignoring obstacles and the fact that some people have more obstacles than others. So
No, they
listen,
don't.
listen, I'm not done. If you wake up in the morning and in order to get out of bed, you have to take a 200-pound weight off your chest, but the nigga sitting next to you only has to take off a 5-pound weight, that's not the same opportunities, bro.
What about the people that drive with no fucking hands, Duryea?
Listen, Corey, listen.
They got the
Wait,
same.
what?
There's people that drive
saying-
literally.
We're not saying that oppression means that you can't succeed.
And then there's blind people who can't drive. I
Yeah,
mean,
we're not
you could
saying that. We're not saying
walk
that.
all around
oppression-
that.
We're not saying that.
Some of those
challenge is-
people are very extraordinary.
Corey, but you're not listening, bro. I'm not even finishing my thought. We're not saying that oppressed people cannot succeed. What we're saying is,
What are you saying?
I thought I was just saying it. If you keep cutting me off, I can't say it, brother. We're not saying that oppression is the reason that people can't succeed. What we're saying is oppression is an issue and we play a part in that and we should stop playing a part in it. And this is how. Don't ignore, you're basically ignoring oppression, saying it doesn't exist.
No, I'm saying is
So do you feel like oppression exists?
yes,
That's the question.
You do feel like oppression exists.
yes,
So,
Is everyone equally oppressed?
no.
okay. So
Who's more oppressed?
That's something I can't answer. That's why I'm telling you we have the same 24 hours in the day. Oppression is going to be here. Basically, to be equal, everyone has to view reality. If you don't view reality, then this is a pointless conversation.
But don't you
Everyone
think
is
that
oppressed.
everyone's reality is different?
I do, but I believe everyone has different levels of oppression,
you're going to lose it.
which makes us all equal.
So we have different levels of oppression,
oppression.
but the
That's
different
what-
levels make us
But
equal.
is the equalizer.
Yes.
I
For
can
example,
see, I get what you're saying with that, but I still think part of your argument ignores oppression because we're talking not about what
No.
exists. Listen, we're talking about not just what exists, we're talking about what we should do about it. This is an action-based kind of like thinking. We don't want to just point out problems and to say, oh, that's a problem, fuck it. We want to find solutions to these problems. So what is your part in other people's oppression? And what I feel like what I'm hearing is, since we all have the equality
Right.
to do this, that, and the third, I don't really have to help you with your oppression. It's not my responsibility. What Mac was saying is, it's our responsibility innately to help, period. If we see the help, that there is a need for help, which brings back to the topic was, I think there is a need for help in the place for women, and it is our responsibility to help. Whether it's women, whether it's Hispanics, boo.
I want you to do this. I want you to Google right now, Black women degrees accomplished.
Black women get the most degrees, right?
Right. We do.
Exactly.
They're the best educated demographic.
Why do you think they
Hold
do?
on.
Why do you, I'm looking.
Say that again, Emily.
Why did she have to say it again? We all heard it. Listen,
Because I want to
listen,
make.
Corey. Listen, because we're over.
So what's your
already. I'm
point
trying to be-
behind that? Let him make his point, though.
No,
What's your
go ahead,
point
Durier.
behind that?
Go ahead. You already know. Y'all are all brilliant people in here. Go ahead, Durier.
Yeah. My thing is, why do you think Black women have to do that? Why do you think that number?
Don't have to.
What do you think going on in a Black woman's head that makes them feel like to where all Black women are out here just getting degrees left and right? Why would they do that? If not to make themselves more competitive in the workplace. If for no other, because they know that the chips are stacked against them the most. I feel like Black women are the minority, are the
But
group.
who fought for that to be Malcolm X, Black men, Martin Luther King, Black men? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what
Who
is.
fought for that?
I'm talking about what
these
is, bro.
dogs
I'm not
sit
blaming. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about at the end of the day, the conversation that we had came about because I feel like Black men are not doing enough to protect Black women.
We are doing stuff.
I don't feel like we are, because if we were, I don't feel like women would feel the need to do all that extra shit.
Durier,
Personally,
I'm telling you,
and this coming from a woman.
the fact that they have those degrees, that means a Black man fought for it in the past.
The fact that they have those degrees
I
meant
think that
What
Black
on earth are we
people-
talking about
Right.
here? Black
I don't
men?
think you just say Black men liberated Black women. Like
Like,
have
that
to-
is based on nothing.
Emily, it's based on Malcolm X, Martin Luther King.
That's
Do you
Two
think Malcolm X and Martin Luther
individuals.
King
Okay,
didn't
what
have
about-
people like Rosa
okay, what
Parks
about
doing a bunch
Marcus-
of their work for them?
Hold on. What about Rosa Parks was protected.
Marcus Garvey, have you ever read his wife's biography? It's a pretty fucking fascinating story.
What about his wife?
She did a lot too, but she didn't get any credit for it.
Right. It's a
That's
lot
not
of
that's not Marcus Garvey's fault.
It's not his
I'm
wife's
not saying
fault
it's Marcus
either.
Garvey's
though.
fault, but
I
I'm
didn't say
saying
it
that
was
you're
his wife's
incorrect about the fact that women did not play a role in liberating themselves.
I didn't say that they didn't. Y'all are implying things.
You're
You're
in-
implying
You are
by
saying
some-
directly,
Yeah.
men, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they're the reason why Black women have opportunities today.
Right.
You
That's
said that
not-
explicitly.
Listen. I said that to show Durier that we are doing things. How can y'all
Because
not
those two
see that?
guys did.
You named two
No,
dudes
And
who have been
plus,
dead
Malcolm X was
for
famously
70
sexist.
years.
Hold on. Huey Newton. He
And
was
Martin
building,
Luther King
he
was
was
a
building
womanizer.
schools for
And
kids.
he was a womanizer. What?
Yeah.
You're missing the point.
No, we're not.
We're not. We're
Listen,
not at the point.
Listen,
I
Huey
think
Newton.
that.
Hold on. Huey Newton.
Okay.
What's his name? George Washington Carver.
Right.
Black inventor. I don't have them all off the top of my head.
That's okay.
There are Black men doing things. Now, Black boys don't do
Black
shit.
men that have done things. Have done things.
And
And
not
that
all of
wasn't
those men that you
for-
listed did anything for women, even Black women.
That wasn't for
They
the betterment
did.
of just
Are
Black
you
women.
serious?
though. That was a
Washington Carver-
movement.
Isn't he's the guy who invented peanut butter, right?
Listen,
Okay,
let's
when you're
just
both
talk
talking,
about-
I can't
let's just
understand
talk
either of you.
Let's just talk about Huey Newton.
Okay.
He set up schools in the Black community while the police were sicking dogs on the children. Does that not help women?
No,
He
Corey,
put up
what we need to be
lunches.
talking about. we
Y'all
need
are
to
not
stay
trying
on
to
topic.
listen.
Listen, bro.
Y'all
Listen.
are trying. Y'all have
We
y'all's
need to
point.
stay on topic because the topic is about what is currently happening in the workplace. We're not talking about what happened in the 60s.
Can't talk about what's current.
Corey, listen.
Let's talk about
That's
past.
the topic. That was the question. The 60s was over fucking
No, it was not that long.
Corey, but it's not today. The state of the Black community compared to the state today versus the way it was in the 60s,
We're
very
dropping the ball. Yeah. We're dropping the
Very
ball.
different.
It's
we are
true.
dropping the ball, which was
Yeah.
the point. Black men back in the 60s were doing what they supposed to do for Black women. They were doing that shit right.
And there's
No, they
still men out
weren't.
here like that.
I think they were.
There's
Well,
still men
I've
out
studied
here
this in
like
school, and I'm telling you, the Black Panthers, famously sexist. Malcolm X, famously sexist. Martin Luther King, famous problems with women in his
Yeah,
life.
I do know- I don't
I'm
know
not saying
about
that they
the other
weren't
stuff
doing
about
anything
Luther
for
King.
women, but you can't act like they've just been these like perfect saviors who, made women's. The real work is always done by Black women. They're always the ones who elect the people who make the biggest change. They're always the ones who show up for the marches and show up for all the shit, and organize all the shit.
I named four. You named three.
It's not a
It's not
competition.
about naming
It's not about
famous
competition.
political
I just
figures.
want to
It's
see
not a
if you know
competition.
what he's talking about.
It's not a competition.
Don't you understand that the point,
See,
like the
I
fact
think
that people
y'all know
can't name as many is part of the point?
No, I named
Yes.
4 within 3 minutes.
But that's not what you're
Corey,
hearing.
what she's saying
Why
is
can't you name any women?
history doesn't champion
I
the
can.
women; it champions the men. So
That's not
by
true.
that same
It is
token,
true.
you will be able to.
That's
Do
not
you
true.
know how many things were invented by women that like you think were invented by men? I mean, it's an insane number. Like
Name one.
fire escapes.
Fire- Come on.
Yeah, it's invented by a
Anybody
woman.
can invent a
Name
fire.
one. Bow.
What do you mean anybody can invent a fire escape?
Well,
That's
it
not
took
an
a woman to come up with
invention.
it.
It's
All right.
an invention. Patent, whatever you want to call
Computer
it. But it's-
programming. What else?
What about the woman who is doing all that research in electromagnetism?
I know
while
it's
Ben
Laura
Franklin was flying
Bossy.
a kite?
What's
Yeah,
her
Laura
name?
Bossy, who was like, yeah, doing experiments in electromagnetism and stuff while Ben Franklin was flying fucking kites. I mean, and then you got Ada Lovelace, who basically like invented computer programming. I mean, like, it's just,
Okay.
but you've never heard of these people.
But guess what? It don't matter. It proves y'all not oppressed. That's my
It
point.
does prove that
That
we're oppressed
proves-
because
that
you
The
haven't
only
heard about
reason
us.
that Laura Bossy did what she did was because her husband supported her and bought her a lab. She was
Thank
not
you.
able to get
Hold on,
jobs
say
at any
that
of the
again.
universities.
Hold on. Her husband did what?
You're selectively
So can I
defending
ask you a
points
question, Corey?
and blasting
I'm
over
showing
others.
you
at
that
this
you guys
point.
are making illogical arguments.
Can I ask you a
I
question,
don't think
Corey?
so.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
So, and I do want to wrap up here
And
because I
guess
have,
who invented the Matrix? A black woman.
listen,
The movie.
Thank you.
please.
Cool.
Listen, Corey, please. Do you feel like if 100 people are racist and then one is not, you can use that one person as an example to prove racism doesn't exist?
No, but do
Okay,
you feel
pause. It's two-part. Your argument, that might not be what you're trying to argue, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're saying, here's these examples of men who helped women, and that means men aren't oppressing women.
You know, I actually think that this is a lot like the coronavirus, okay? Where people are talking about how if the measures that we take to combat the virus work, then it will look like we overreacted. So people do things to help Black people or help women or Black women or whatever. And when it starts to work, then people use the evidence that there was no problem to begin with. It's exactly what people are doing with the virus.
I agree.
What do you mean, Emily?
Which part of it is unclear?
Are you saying that the virus is bullshit, or are you saying it's more serious than people think?
She's saying
I'm
that.
not really saying one way or the other.
Can
I'm
I
just
clarify for you?
Sure.
I think
I'm asking her.
I know, but all right.
I'm not really trying to make a claim about the virus. I'm just saying that it exists. And I mean, I believe that, and that we have taken measures to prevent people from getting it. And because of that, a lot of people are saying like, oh, there is no virus because look, like everybody's fine. But really, that's because we all quarantined for all that time. And that's what I'm saying about like Black rights or women's rights or Hispanic people, right? You know, LGBTQ, whatever. As soon as it starts to work a little bit and they start to gain a little bit, then the oppressors can be like, see, there's no problem.
Okay. So do you realize that there's a patent number for the coronavirus?
I'm not interested in getting into a debate about
Yeah,
the
that's
coronavirus.
not what we're talking about. Corey.
Here's the point.
Let's stay on topic,
Okay.
bro. What we're
Here's the
talking
point.
about.
Here's the point. The oppressors are bigger than men. There's women politicians out there too that will oppress just as fast. That's my point.
Yeah, women are part of the patriarchy. There's no question
Thank you.
about that.
We're not
I mean-
saying that women, that no one, that was never a point to make. The point was not about who is the oppressors.
Yes, it is.
No,
I mean,
that's
do you
the
need
whole
me to
topic.
admit all of women's wrongdoings before you're willing to have a conversation about what
Right.
we might need in order to live in society the way men do? Because, I mean, I can do that.
Again, what are y'all oppressed about and what do y'all need?
Oh my
Again.
gosh.
So listen, Corey.
Why can't
Okay,
health.
what do y'all need?
So go, Alex.
Since you
I'm
can't
just
answer,
curious.
since
I
you,
just want to
you
know,
can't
like,
answer
why?
anything.
No,
why
else-
health a
let me be
problem?
clear. I'm refusing to answer.
All right, refuse to answer. I asked you guys earlier, what are y'all being oppressed about? Y'all
I'm not
brought
gonna
the
speak for all
job back
females.
up again. Y'all brought the jobs back up again. So
Okay, I
that's
have
a
an
different
example.
question.
I feel like in the medical, it's a whole different situation.
And where?
In medical, like going in for a doctor's appointment, it's
Ugh.
statistically speaking that women can go in to a doctor, complain about problems, and not be believed, versus a man. Black women even more so,
I
and
was
we
about
are
to say.
dying at a higher rate.
So when a black woman goes to the doctor,
Yes,
are men around when they're in the doctor's office?
you've been to a
Of
doctor's
course.
office. You know that it's you and the doctor.
I don't go to the gynecologist. I've never been.
I'm not saying a gynecologist. I'm talking about
Okay.
ER, regular general physician's doctor.
I've never been to the ER, so you can't say that. What
The
I'm
general
asking you is a
physician.
direct question. When you
Okay.
go into the doctor's office
Right.
and they classify you or they refuse you service, are men around actually looking at what you've been refused on?
When you go into a doctor's office, any doctor's office, it's always you and the doctor or you, the doctor, and a nurse. So,
I actually, if you want a guy who is a witness
Sure.
to this, I went to the doctor with Emily one time, and without getting into the details of what was going on,
right.
I was in the room. The doctor stood up and shook my hand, didn't shake Emily's hand,
I remember this story.
Yeah, because I was
Would-
pissed.
would turn to me and ask me questions about what was going on with Emily, and told her that all of her problems weren't problems,
That it was in my head.
and turned to me and said, stuff like, I mean, these kind of things happen, kind of stuff.
I remember this story because when she told me, I was like, "You're lying," and basically, and that's a real thing. Like, was he older?
He was older. He had gray hair.
People who were like older. Listen, the people who were like out there like in the 60s, 70s, like younger than nowadays, they're used to treating women like that. Women are in their minds. It's still men out there who feel like women. If you ain't in the kitchen, the fuck, why are you?
Oh my god. Do you guys know about Am I the Asshole? The like Reddit thing, and they have a Twitter.
No.
And people put stories on there, and the whole thing is like the person is saying that like, I don't think I'm an asshole in this situation, but everybody else is telling me that I am. So
Right.
you on the internet tell me, am I the asshole? And there was this one on there today where this guy, he wrote in that his wife was getting, has like a executive job or whatever, and that she was getting particularly stressed for this particular period of time, and that she seemed listless and despondent and wasn't useful around the house, and blah, blah, blah. Had to throw that in there. And so he called her boss and her male boss, and they had a conversation, and her husband and her boss decided together that the woman should be reassigned to a less stressful position. And while she didn't take a pay cut, it was still kind of a demotion. And he has not told his wife that he had this conversation with her boss. Now, again, this is anecdotal evidence, so it really
Right.
doesn't go very far. But I'm just saying, like, stories like this are common.
Do you feel like that's oppression, Corey?
Didn't he say she was useless?
He
In
said she was
his
useless.
opinion.
What did
with,
what did he mean by that?
like with housework.
Okay. So my question is if a man is not paying bills and doing what he's supposed to do, would a woman consider him useless?
Not if the agreement was that he was a stay-at-home dad.
But I
I mean-
get what he's saying, though. I get what he's saying, especially in our community. Oh, if you
Look,
can't
I'm
pay
not
a
even
bill,
talking about the fact that he said she was useless around the house. I mean, yeah, I find that offensive.
Okay,
but
I really
he
can't go.
called her
I can't,
fucking
y'all can't be
boss.
logical. I can't do this.
But is it oppression?
boy, don't be like
You're not answering that question.
Okay.
The
one more
useless
time.
isn't really the issue. The issue is the oppression. Should he have the right to phone her boss and make a decision about her job without having any conversations with her
Or have
Okay.
the
Why
right to
did he?
call her
Why,
boss
at
and
all?
all.
Period.
why,
Yeah.
why would he call her boss?
Why would
Because
he call her boss?
he thought that
You
there was
asked me the
something going
question.
on
Does
at
he
work.
have the right? Now you asked me, does he have the
Emily's
right?
answering you.
Sorry.
Huh? Go ahead.
Emily's answering you.
Well, I was answering
You asked a question. What was the question you just asked?
Well, I can't talk to two women at the same time. So what I'm saying is, I was talking to Alex when she asked about, is it oppression? And I asked, why would he call her boss? Because doctors do have a right to call your boss.
It's not a doctor, it's her husband.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got the story mixed up.
Oh, with the other one, yeah.
All right. So one more time. The husband called his wife's boss.
Right.
Mhm.
For what reason?
Because he felt like she was, the words he used, I want to say, were listless and despondent and not useful around the house. And she has
So
like an executive job.
So he called her boss to ask him, was she useful at the job?
No, he called to see, like, basically why she was so stressed and to, you know, see if there was some way he could fix it with the boss.
No, that's not oppression. If he's calling her boss to see, are you putting more stress on my wife than she needs? That is not oppression.
So then what about them making a mutual decision together about changing her job without her being a part of the conversation? Because they changed her job as a result. And she was, apparently, according to him, was devastated. And so he won't even tell her that the reason that this happened is because he talked to her boss. So she's totally clueless.
No, I don't think that's oppression. I think he sort of jumped the gun by changing her job, but I think he came from a place of care, not oppression.
You mean the husband? What about the boss?
He didn't come from a place of respect, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, sometimes we're not perfect as men, but I do think he came from a place of care.
If he came from a place of respect, though, he would have included her in the conversation.
So if the situation were reversed, you feel the same?
How it could be disrespectful, but I don't think it came from a place of oppression.
I assume you feel the same if the situation were reversed and it were the man whose wife called his boss and got him demoted.
If my wife called my boss on if I'm in a wheelchair and I have or if I'm like deaf mute or something, right? And I'm coming home every night stressed. This is the reverse situation.
No, because she's not deaf mute. So
hey, you guys, we are going to wrap it up.
She's a regular person.
So I'm sorry to cut you guys off. We are going to wrap it up here soon. I know I'm cutting people off, but we got to wrap it up here soon. So,
well, go ahead, man.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody a last thought. One person, 1 minute at a time. Okay. We will start. Does anyone have a preference of going first?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, so Alex's last thoughts on today's topic. Go.
I think that it's important for everyone to recognize that fear and selfishness, are major factors in the decisions dealing with racism, dealing with sexism, ageism, colorism. And if you're going to show up to help, show up to be selfless, show up to make a change and spread it to those around you. Just don't, speak to your family, speak to your friends, speak to your community, your church groups, and have these conversations not just with people of color, but have these conversations among your own groups as well.
Alex for Congress.
I mean, you had some more time left, but okay, that's all. Who wants to go next? Let me get Corey. Go ahead. Go.
Basically, I don't really understand. I'll say this. There's a reason why pigeons fly with pigeons and wolves fly with wolves. So ultimately, when you ask for equality, understand that there's not going to always be an even playing field, but everyone has the same opportunity to go to Princeton or not go to Princeton. You can still try.
Okay. Cool. Mac? Go.
Sure. I think that we all owe it to one another as people to support one another. And I think more than that, some of us are in positions where we're better equipped, better privileged to help others more effectively. And we've got to use that place not to just hoard it, use it for ourselves, but to use it to help others. And it's all of our responsibility to do what we can to support those around us, regardless of whether we think it's our fault or that we're the cause of any problems. No matter what, we've just got to help one another.
Perfect. And Emily, go.
I guess I just want to say that I think that I'm really glad that we did this, because I think that more than anything else, a good takeaway from this whole conversation is how important it is to talk to people who you don't necessarily agree with about everything. It's something that we're all very afraid of. And I mean, Juria, you know me, I get passionate, but I don't get like mad, and I don't care later or whatever.
I'm gonna throw something. I'm so glad I'm over here.
I'll still like have a beer with whoever later. Like, and I think that I feel very blessed to have a community of friends that are like-minded in that way, that they will have these conversations with me, and not, turn against each other, whatever.
Okay. And for me, the final thought is similar to Emily's. I'm really glad that we did this, because I think it's important for people to start having these conversations. People need to kind of get what works and doesn't work, instead of just feeling like my idea is the right idea. Because there was some stuff I was hearing from one person, and then when they said it a different way, I was like, oh. So I think there's that. And I also think I agree with Mac with that. I agree with everybody, honestly, but I also agree with the idea that we need to take it upon ourselves to help, because there's nothing you can accomplish in this world by yourself. You're always going to need some assistance, even if it's through a teacher. Like Corey talks about his construction that he just did. Somebody taught him how to do that, So we have to be willing to help people. Yes, the opportunities are there, but understanding that some opportunities are easier to get to for certain people, and understanding if you can make that easier for that person, whether through teaching them or helping them out. Okay.
Well, I will just also say that I did have a good takeaway from this, as someone who is on the side of things that I'm on, that I will, going forward, think more about what can I do for myself. So.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone, to Talk It Out. This will be it for episode 1. And remember, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about listening and being heard.